Almost got reverse on. Well, that's a first. Perfect. Let's get rolling. See how this thing looks with some white letter Cooper covers. Oh my goodness. That's a boat. We have a 1 speed here. What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the Pontiac Grand Prix rescue. This is a 1968 Pontiac Grand Prix that we dragged out of a tow yard where it had been for years, and in our last episode we got this thing running. And then we went through the cooling system and we attempted to move it, and we're having some issues there. So first thing in this episode, let's see if we can figure out our moving problem. Let's work on the brakes, let's clean this thing up, and let's get it back on the road. So we've gone ahead and got it jacked up here on jack stands so we can start fiddle farting around with the shifting, see what's maybe going on there. I'm hoping maybe this shifter here, because the handle and everything's not correct, I'm hoping that maybe they have something wrong on the transmission. Maybe we're just too low. Hopefully we don't have an issue there, because it seems like we have some forward. We don't have much of a neutral. We don't really have a park, and we don't have any reverse. First thing I'm noticing here, everything is hooked up, and that has not been messed with in a really long time. Looking at a park, dry shaft, park no problem, put in reverse. You can actually hear the pump working. Listen to this. I think we'll just check the fluid a bit more and see if maybe it'll grab reverse. There's reverse.
Hey, there's reverse.
Was that reverse?
Yeah. That's forward. That's reverse.
What is that?
That's forward. That's reverse.
Reverse is in the reverse spot, but then there's a drive beyond reverse towards park. Is that drive?
It's fine. Yeah, that's reverse, definitely. Whoop,
maybe
stop.
It's just low still. This thing's running so good now.
Sheesh.
I think we need to just go ahead and take a break on the transmission there. Fluid's topped off. Everything seems okay now, but we're missing reverse. To kind of diagnose it a bit more, we need to drive this thing. But before we can do that, we need to build the brakes. But before we build the brakes, we might as well go ahead and clean this thing up. Sometimes you don't realize just how filthy a car is until you start washing it. That's 2 panels in. Well, it cleaned up well. It is definitely a 20-footer. You can tell it was probably a $99 Mako paint job back in the day, a U-Prep Mako paint job. I think with some buff and wax, it'll look pretty sharp. So I've got a question. A lot of these cars that were tinted back probably in the 70s and 80s seem to have purple tint. Was that a thing, or is that just black tint and the tint technology wasn't quite as good, and it kind of, the sun dries it out to purple? I just wonder that, because a lot of these we get are purple. So that's pretty good. Tint never comes off like that. I want to just start buffing on this thing. I don't know why. I always want to go down that rabbit hole, but I love the transformation. But first, let's go and get this thing jacked up. Let's pull all the wheels and tires off, and let's address those brakes, because we're ready to try to drive this thing. Well, that's a first. Well, I'd say we're gonna at least need one caliper, and it's also apparent we're probably gonna need brake lines. Now, looking at the driver's side here, we still have a caliper. You may notice it's actually a big single piston. The Grand Prix could have been optioned with a 4-piston. I'm kind of glad it doesn't have those. It would have been nice, but without the other one, they're extremely hard to find. They're extremely expensive. This is the base model. They option for the base model ones. Don't know why, but they did. And we're able to pick these up for like $30 a piece. So I went ahead and just got a set of calipers, and with a new set, it'll make the car feel a lot better and stop a lot better and be a little safer. That is an old, probably even the original brake hose. We definitely want to do that while we're in here.
Oh man, I don't need to stop with the whole drum.
We're missing a little chunk, and we're missing, that's way the wrong drum. What are we getting into? Came off. It looks not great, but not terrible. Wow, tons of brake fluid leaking everywhere.
Hey, look, it was stopping.
What the? Yeah, that's not safe. With all of our hoses disconnected and everything, we might as well go ahead, remove our top line so we can blow through it, make sure everything is clear. That's a pretty crunchy master cylinder. We might as well just replace it. $23, $24. And get a brand new remanufactured one, which is probably better than what we got there. I know we don't want to just go throwing parts at stuff. This is obviously budget builds, but at the same time, something like your master cylinder, brake hoses, wheel cylinders, and calipers, if they're relatively inexpensive, we're talking about safety. What happens is these have, see all the bubbling? they have metal inside the hose, and when it rusts, it'll close off your brake, your actual hose here. So what I found, you either lose one wheel completely, or you'll actually just have reduced brake pressure, which neither are very good. Wow, they look great, but those would not have lasted very long. There's not even anything left. What the heck? Papa. There we have the bearing and the dust shield. Now I'll take and run it in until it is snug. And back it off an eighth, maybe quarter turn there. Always like to take and put a little bit of grease at our ride points here, just to help prevent squeakage. When going back together, we want to run our shoes out until they're just barely rubbing. We get a little bit of friction. There we go. Here's some light rubbage. It's not locking down on me, and anything else can be adjusted with that self-adjuster, which adjusts when you're backing up. Yeah. We should probably do that hose. What a wonderful spot. Don't we have a lift inside? I still just prefer the ground. It's my favorite. Is it your favorite, Dad?
No.
Now you're probably wondering why we're not in the shop, why we're doing this under here. This time of year, it gets warmer out here a lot quicker than it does in there, and it's cold, and so we end up just doing projects out here. We need to work on some kind of heat source in there, but We got too many fun things to mess with to worry about heat. And again, 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 and again. Oh yeah. You can see the back's pulling down, bleeding too. So by the time we get the fronts filled up and done, we should be able to just knock out those backs real quick and real easy. Perfect. We were able to piece together a set of Cooper Cobras. We had 2 on one set of wheels and 2 on some others. They're older tires, but they should do good on this car. Now I put the fender skirts on there. Dad wasn't gonna let that happen. So the fender skirts are back off, and I think white letter is gonna look pretty cool on that car. We stopping. Now let's get rolling. See how this thing looks with some white letter Cooper Cobras. Let me put my butt crack up. Those are ugly, aren't they? The tires look great. The wheels are horrendous. I know we got other stuff to do, but we got to pull these things off and paint them. What do you think? Not perfect, but man, what a difference. And I just love that that is an inexpensive, quick weekend project that will completely transform a car. Just when you think you finally found a decent tank. Smells terrible, but it's empty, and it looks like there's some good walls. The reason it's empty is because it's full of pinholes and everything's leaked out the bottom. Now we'll at least go ahead and pull the fuel line off of the tank. There's obviously nothing in there anyways. Let's clear through it and make sure everything is good, and we'll put a boat tank in the trunk for now. Oh my goodness. Do it a couple more times. We're gonna want to put a fuel filter up there. With the fuel system taken care of, you know, this thing wasn't charging last time, and obviously I didn't have the igniter hooked up, but that's because they have some kind of mess going on with that other alternator. Was able to order that part number AC Delco factory plug off of Amazon for like $5. That'll give us what we need there, and I just need to get it spliced in, and then we should have a charging system. Sometimes you get into some fun stuff that somebody else had already messed with. Definitely took some deciphering and figuring out, but we got all the wiring in place in the car. We did have to put a jumper on the neutral safety switch where the wires are cut off of the console, but otherwise everything is now hooked up, and hopefully we can crank it with a key and it'll be charging, and then we'll try to move this thing. Oh yes. See if we get some fuel pulling. All right, oh yeah. For some reason, the one wire that we hooked up there was not carrying good voltage. So put the jumper on and it fired up. Everything else is there. Let's see if it's charging. Haha. So quiet. Come here and look at this.
Oh man, come on.
I told you it sounds funny. Ah! All the way down to 0. Right there. Like it's in gear. What? I think it's time to see what this thing does. I have a feeling we're going to find out why this thing was parked, and it probably has to do with that transmission because it does not seem right. Got brakes. That's big cozy car brakes. It moves and it stops. Jump in this thing, Dad. Now what we're looking for at this point, we have pull. We still don't have reverse. So what we're looking for is first, second, and third. If we have first and second, but no third, that means our reverse low bands are burnt up and gone. That's why third is gone. If we have third, then maybe we have an actuation issue. Maybe our push rod actuator is messed up or something. I don't know a ton about these. This is just research I've done. Basically, we got to drive it to see what's going on. The car itself feels great. We have first.
Hey, we got first.
We got a 1-speed here, Dad. a second. I think, didn't we just go into second? The shifter's off. We are burned. Good grief. No, we just got it first.
Can you? Oh my goodness.
That's a boat. We have a 1 speed here.
Yep, I think so. Hey, friend.
Definitely disheartening, but we're not going to give up on this gal yet. We don't mind a challenge. We've gone ahead and pulled this thing up on the lift. Let's get it up on the air for the first time. Probably should have done this to begin with. Let's take a look at what we're working with. Pretty. Not terrible. A couple little spots in the front floorboard and the rear floorboard. All the framing looks good. There's our Turbo 400. No vacuum line. And so apparently if there's no vacuum on that, it will shift eventually, but it's a huge... You gotta run this thing up till it's gonna blow up, and you don't do that in a big block. I'll spray the exhaust down. What some would do would be go ahead and check pump pressures. I don't have a gauge on hand. There's probably no point checking it because it's obvious. There's still some major issues. Hopefully just dropping this pan we'll be able to see them. %, should have punched a hole in this. Wow, it's really clean. That's actually not horrible. That's just like normal wear. Shifter looks perfect, rooster tail. Just right into place. In doing some research, it looks like another very common issue is the governor. Everything here looks okay. It looks better than okay, actually. We could have a valve body issue. You know, we were looking for no reverse to begin with, but realizing we don't have anything but first either, hopefully we have some other kind of issue that we can address. So let's go and pull this cover off and see if there's anything frozen or possibly a strip nylon gear in the governor. So the governor had no movement. Dad tapped it a little bit. Go ahead. Do your little wiggly wiggly. Now it moves freely. Figured out our first 2 second. We can go ahead and reinstall our governor now. And then we still need to figure out reverse. I think our next step will go ahead and drop the servo for the reverse, and let's check our push rod length and everything. Like I said, clutch wear, we didn't check pressure obviously, so we don't know what the pressure was. There's not a ton of stuff in that pan, so I wonder maybe we just have a worn rod or adjustment issue or something in that rear servo. So let's get this back in and then let's drop that and see what's going on there. This might all be a lost cause, but it's a learning experience. This thing is gross from up here, isn't it? It is coming right on out. I went ahead and pulled the spring, and I want to push it up in here, and let's see how deep it is actually seating there. So
225,000.
225,000. We're looking for 70 to 80. Wow. So that right there is how short our pin is. What we're looking to do here with that servo rod is because of the wear on the end of it and the wear on the band, we want to add a bit to. As far as play goes up in there, we're actually hitting close to 225 thousandths. And according to spec, we're looking for somewhere 70 to 80. We won't necessarily go that tight with the tolerance, but we're able to buy this kit right here off of Amazon that comes with our little extendy guy here. Go ahead and clean up where this is rounded over a bit. Let's get this pressed on. Let's figure out our overall length. Might have to, if it's a little too long, you just take and file this down or grind it down a bit. And then this should add to what we need. And then this is our full rebuild kit with our seals and all for that reverse servo. $4.450. All right. Did it go?
Huh? I don't know. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. We've gone through and made sure everything in the valve body was nice and clean and free. Made sure everything moves just like it's supposed to. Now going back on, this separator plate is not happy. Super worn where the check balls go, and it was actually missing one. It's supposed to have 6, it only had 5. All scuffed up and everything. Where the bolts go in, kind of pulled over real harsh and stuff. And it's a really just not happy. So we're going to be installing a B&M shift improver kit, and we're just going to set it up as heavy duty, not as a street hot rod or anything. And hopefully all of this together will make this thing a little happier. There it went. Okay. I went all the way. Okay.
All these the same, probably.
Yeah. Fresh fluid in, moment of truth. Is that gonna fix it? Pretty reasonable. Putting that shift improver kit in there, going ahead and taking care of that low reverse servo, and then obviously that governor being stuck. So hopefully those few things address our issues. Yeah, it pulled forward, didn't it? First. Maybe the fluid's too low. neutral. We did nothing. Definitely not the way we necessarily wanted that to go. We did not have a ton of time into that. We did not have a ton of money, probably less than $100, and I think it was worth a shot. What definitely threw us off was the fact that this thing had no reverse. But now that we've got it all back together, when you put it in reverse, it has a really solid engagement, but it's stuck. So we were thinking maybe something with the valve body. Obviously we had a reverse issue. We figured out the governor and everything. But what's actually going on at this point is the front disc have actually welded together the forward disc, and that's probably just from over time and wear and probably running low on fluid at some point of time. And so realistically, at the end of the day, it is savable, but it's gonna need a complete rebuild. We're ready to get this car going down the road. We dug through storage and we actually have a BOP transmission that we pulled out of a parts car that was a good one. It'll take probably an hour. Let's yank this one out. Let's put the other one in. I think at some point in time, maybe we'll dig through that transmission because I'd love to learn how to rebuild an automatic anyways. We need to get this car going down the road, and the most reasonable, inexpensive way to do it is to put a free transmission in it. And so it's time to come back out. And sorry, I've had the flu, so I probably sound terrible. Dad's been sick too. This weather has been rough and everybody's just been getting sick. But we should be able to yank this thing out now. We decided to go high class. Obviously the lift is new to us. And we went and bought a transmission jack. Now these things are really expensive, so we found the cheapest one, which was $75. It's a little bent. It needs some work, but it does work. And the casters are frozen, so we're gonna have to piddle on that a little bit to make it work all the way, and then we should be able to drop this thing no problem. Hey, it ain't perfect, but it works. Hopefully this one will work a little bit better for us. This one was obviously a BOP. This one came out of an Oldsmobile instead of a Pontiac, but you just verify tail shaft is the same length, which it is. It was a good transmission, but that's been a few years ago. It's at least worth a shot. Whoop. Well, that's not gonna work. Placement transmission is installed, and hopefully it does well. It's definitely fun to learn on that Turbo 400 a little bit. Obviously, we don't have a ton of experience with automatics. Realistically, I think a manual will be a lot of fun in this car, but it would be tough to find all those hard to find parts on this Pontiac. Oh yeah. That's a start. Hey! Well, that's a first. We got a reverse. It's kind of convenient having a reverse, so you don't have to drag it around. That's quite nice. Let's take this thing for a spin. What a boat. There we go. This thing just must have a ton of ratio. What do you think we hit? We in first or second or third or 12th or what? Check it out, speedometer works. It's actually really smooth. We throw a strap on the hood just because that front end's all funky. We're gonna take it out here where we can get a little bit more speed out of it. You know, we're only getting about 30. That's just not enough to see third gear. So I think if we can get out here where we can see 45 or so, maybe we'll get third gear out of it. Very smooth. Wow. This thing's a cruiser, dude. That's 60 plus. So it doesn't shift to third until 50 or so. Feels great though. I'm happy with it. Definitely tested our patience a bit, but sometimes that's what you got to do, getting these things brought back. Definitely some trial and error, but so worth it. That thing is such a cruiser. Man, I love bringing these things back. Years and years the 68 Grand Prix was off the road. I think we figured out just why it was. We got that transmission taken care of. I think the wheels definitely set it off. This thing enjoyed a bath and it's cruising. It's such a fun cruiser at that. We're not done just yet. I think a buff completely disassemble this front end, dial in all the panel gaps and everything, and put it all back together and detail that original interior. I think this thing will be a great car altogether, a fun driver, not perfect by any means, but an affordable, enjoyable cruising machine. I hope you all have enjoyed the rescue to this point, and if you have, be sure to subscribe, button notification bell to keep up with our future uploads on this rescue and our other rescues and rebuilds. And if you have been a part of the channel, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. That's gonna wrap it up. Peace out and catch you all on the flip side.